For leaders who spent their entire careers in traditional office spaces, remote work isn't just a shift in logistics, it's a shift in mindset. They've honed their leadership skills in environments where they could walk by someone's desk, join a meeting in a conference room, or hold team events in person. Remote work asks these leaders to redefine how they manage, connect, and motivate, and for some, that's a daunting transition. Welcome to the Leadership Disrupted podcast, where we focus on business leadership within a disrupted landscape of technological, social, economic, and systemic disruption, along with the increasing speed and complexity of business. Short version, our world is rapidly evolving, and great leaders are evolving with it. I'm your host, Dan Rust. No guest today, it's all me. And before I go any further, the marketing folks want me to ask you to please subscribe to the YouTube channel, or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any other audio podcasting platform, please subscribe to that channel. So, in September of this year, Amazon announced that it would require employees to return to working at company offices 5 days per week beginning next year, toughening a prior 3-day mandate. And by the way, they had some significant issues with non-compliance with the 3-day mandate. Some of their highly productive and hard-to-fire employees were simply refusing to come in and work from an office. Amazon stated that the change was necessary to, and I quote, invent, collaborate, and be connected, unquote. These were the words of CEO Andy Jassy in a letter to employees. He said the experience of a 3-day mandate, and again I quote, strengthened our conviction about the benefits of in-office work. Obviously, many companies have needed their employees to work from home since the pandemic, leaving downtown offices nearly empty in a lot of cities around the world. When I visited Warsaw last year, I was amazed at the amount of unused downtown office space. Same with Munich earlier this year. However, it's also true that some companies, are beginning to mandate employees to return to their offices at least 2 or 3 days per week. Amazon has taken a tougher stance, as COVID-19 has become less of a daily threat. Employees have described how Amazon has required them to report to, in some cases, distant offices or move to Seattle to keep their jobs. And some employees who were consistently out of compliance with the existing 3-day mandate were told that they were, again I quote, voluntarily resigning, and they were locked out of Amazon systems. The mandate was deeply unpopular among a vocal group of employees who said that working from home is both effective and spares time and money for commuting. In May of last year, workers at Amazon's Seattle headquarters staged a walkout, protesting a number of issues, including the return to office mandate. As part of an organizational restructuring, Amazon is looking to increase the ratio of individual contributors to managers by at least 15% by the end of the first quarter of 2025. In other words, more workers and supervisors on the front line, fewer in layers of management. So warehouse workers and supervisors, who of course have to be on site, aren't impacted by this. It's the layers of management and administrative employees. So Amazon is going to be totally okay if those layers shrink a bit through, quote, voluntary attrition. That's good business, right? Amazon is also eliminating a prior program that allowed workers the option to work from anywhere for 4 months per year. Well, in October, more than 500 Amazon employees sent a letter to the CEO of its Amazon Web Services unit, Matt Garman, urging reversal of the full return-to-office policy, and they rejected his assertion that the rule had broad support and opponents should just quit Amazon Web Services. Here's a quote from their letter. "We were appalled to hear the non-data-driven explanation you gave for Amazon imposing a 5-day in-office mandate." Another quote, "This breaks the trust of your employees who have not only personal experience that shows the benefits of remote work, but have seen the extensive data which supports that experience." The letter also stated that requiring 5 days in the office every week also particularly impacts protected classes of workers, such as those with neurodiversity or childcare responsibilities, and does not uphold Amazon's espoused, quote, "strive to be the Earth's best employer," unquote, leadership principle. Attached to the letter were anonymous stories from a dozen Amazon workers who said complying with a 5-day in-office policy would be difficult or impossible due to, among other things, family obligations, commuting times, or medical necessities. One person said the closest office is 4 hours away from them. Another said that their spouse would be forced to quit her job to accommodate a move across the country. And another said that they're more efficient working from home. And here's another quote from the letter. I used to be proud of my work and excited about my future here. I don't feel that way anymore. The letter linked to a 2020 blog post in which Matt Garman, again the same CEO of AWS, wrote that AWS had been running effectively at the outset of the pandemic when most workers were remote. But that's all turned around now, apparently, because at an all-hands meeting recently, Garman said that 9 out of 10 workers he had spoken with fully supported the return to office policy. But the protesting workers said that those comments were inconsistent with the experiences of many employees and are misrepresenting the realities of working at Amazon. So who's right? Matt Garman, the CEO in the Amazon executive suite, or the actual Amazon employees? Well, an Amazon spokesperson said the company offers commuter benefits, elder care, and subsidized parking rates, among other things, to help with in-office work. So that's something. Garman had said he was, quote, quite excited about this change, and that under the current 3-day-per-week policy, collaboration was just too difficult because people may be in offices on different days. So Garman's mindset is apparently that we can't really collaborate if we're not all in the office at the same time on the same days. Well, I've spoken with a few of the impacted employees, and they tell me that for their roles, the return to office mandate is wasteful because it adds commuting time and expense when remote work has been effective. Some say that they plan to leave Amazon. Now, Amazon has enforced the policy by asking many workers to go to regional offices or move to Seattle or, again, voluntarily resign. Amazon has taken a stricter approach because the company says that the policy, again, I'm going to quote, helps workers invent, collaborate, and be connected. And Garmin suggested we don't really accomplish anything under the 3-day policy. So let's take a breath for a moment and try to, as much as possible, acknowledge the benefits and limitations of remote work and what truly innovative, effective, forward-thinking leaders can and should do about it. Remote work now isn't just a hangover from the pandemic. For many employees, it's become the new standard. A recent survey found that over half of respondents would not apply to a job if remote or hybrid working was not an option, because flexible working has opened up a world of possibilities for people who, because of remote work, now have the opportunity to work jobs they may otherwise not have had access to. People with disabilities, workers with caregiving responsibilities, and others who need flexibility to maintain their daily lives hugely benefit from remote work. From the employers' and recruiters' perspective, this opens up a vast new talent pool rather than being limited to the geographic area defined by a reasonable commute time. And yet, despite the many benefits that remote work offers, many organizations, not just Amazon, are beginning to enforce strict return to office or RTO policies that require their employees to commute to a physical office location. And this does create barriers for people who rely on the flexibility that remote work provides them. So, what's the rationale behind this return to office decree? Leaders who are eager to bring back in-person work think an office environment boosts productivity, and they believe remote work kills collaboration and connection. And there is some evidence to support their point of view, especially if you just shift your in-office workers and managers to remote positions without thoughtfully training, coaching, and mentoring them regarding how to be optimally productive in a remote setting. Some employees will automatically get it and thrive in a remote work environment, but some will need, for lack of a better word, training, and not just how to use Zoom or how to use Microsoft Teams. Some employees, especially brand new employees, really do want more connection, more collaboration, more presence from their leaders and colleagues than they might find in a typical remote work environment. And I know some new employees have struggled when they're onboarded at a remote work company because they want more, they need more coaching, mentoring, connecting, all of which can certainly happen remotely, but it is very easy for those new employees to fall between the cracks unless their remote supervisors and managers and colleagues are very intentional about pulling them in and connecting with them. But more broadly speaking, most of the fact-based research shows us that skepticism about working from home is not well-founded. In a survey of 800 employers by Mercer, an HR and workplace benefits consulting firm, 94% of these companies said that productivity was the same or higher than it was before the pandemic, even with their employees working remotely. A study by Great Places to Work, which included more than 800,000 employees at Fortune 500 companies, found that most people reported the same or even higher productivity levels while working from home. Plus, there are lots of ways to foster a sense of connection, community, and collaboration in a virtual workplace. The idea that you need an exclusively in-office workforce is not only wrong, but it's potentially harmful to a company's culture and ultimately its bottom line. The exceptions, of course, are environments where humans have to be on site. Retail, face-to-face with the customer or client environments. Manufacturing environments where humans are building, assembling, processing. Warehouses where humans are packing and shipping. You get the idea. But those environments never moved to a remote work because they never could. So if you are contemplating a return to office mandate for your employees, let me give you, hopefully, some food for thought. And I share this with kindness and respect, but hope that you'll be open to perhaps a point of view that's a bit different. Remote work isn't just about convenience and eliminating commute times. It also removes traditional barriers to the workplace, whether geographical, technological, or otherwise. For neurodivergent people, remote work provides an opportunity to work in a familiar, comfortable space and limits distractions so that they can more easily focus on their work. For people with physical disabilities, working from home means that they don't need to commute to an office. For caregivers who are disproportionately women, remote work allows for a better work-life balance amidst the emotional and physical tolls of providing care for loved ones. Because of the inclusivity that remote work offers, rolling back on flexible working conditions can be harmful to a company's inclusive culture. And the worst part is, not only is a rigid return to office policy the opposite of inclusive, it's also, the data tells us, often completely unnecessary. In today's world, you no longer have to be in the same room as your colleagues to engage in productive and meaningful conversations. So before you pull the trigger on a return to office mandate, maybe you should consider the example of Greenhouse Software Company. They have regional headquarters in New York and Dublin. Their 800 plus employees are distributed throughout the US, Canada, and Ireland, the vast majority working from home. They celebrate the fact that their employees aren't bound to a physical office space because that doesn't stop them from having a collaborative, welcoming culture. They have a designated distributed culture committee, which is made up of employees from different teams and locations around the world. They ask members of the culture committee to plan ways to forge connections and community through one-off or ongoing initiatives like their quarterly virtual volunteer Greenhouse Gives event. They also hold in-person activities like their Gather At series, where they invest in bringing people physically together to foster culture and connection. They also have a Slack channel for consistent, visible shout-outs to team members. Greenhouse Software has won numerous awards, including Inc. Magazine Best Workplace, Glassdoor #1 Best Place to Work, Forbes Cloud 100, Deloitte Technology Fast 500, Inc. 5000, Crane's Best Places to Work in New York City, Fortune's Great Places to Work, and Mogul's Top 100 Workplaces for Diverse Representation. They pride themselves on fostering a collaborative culture throughout every step of a Greenhouse employee's journey. From day one of their interview process to executive Ask Me Anything sessions, they consistently cultivate an inclusive environment, all remotely. With a little effort and purposeful, intentional planning, companies can foster a welcoming, inclusive online work environment for their employees and meet them where they are, no matter where that is. And by offering flexibility, companies are more likely to attract and retain top talent. But, and this is a big but, it is not easy. It does take work and a different kind of leadership. By offering flexible working, companies gain an advantage in the talent market. According to a recent survey, 42% of candidates will not apply for a role if it doesn't offer their preferred working model, which to a majority of candidates is either hybrid or fully remote work. While the talent market has certainly cooled from its red-hot pandemic days, candidates still aren't willing to settle if a role doesn't suit their needs, especially the most talented and sought-after candidates. According to hiring data from Greenhouse, more than 85,000 candidates rejected a job offer in the past year, which was over 7% of all offers extended through the Greenhouse hiring platform. Flexible work not only enhances a company's competitiveness in the talent market, it also cultivates a workplace culture that prioritizes employee well-being and satisfaction. This contributes to increased productivity and overall organizational success. And companies that fail to get on board with flexibility will be left behind. So let's drill a little deeper into the concerns regarding remote productivity. Research from Stanford University shows that remote workers can be up to 13% more productive than their in-office counterparts. And not only were these employees more productive, but they also had 50% lower attrition rates and reported higher satisfaction levels. Why? They were able to work in environments that better suited their needs, with fewer interruptions and greater autonomy. When employees feel like they have control over their work environment, they bring more focus and creativity to their roles. So what about the concerns related to collaboration and team cohesion? A study from Microsoft's Work Trend Index reveals that 80% of remote or hybrid workers feel just as connected to their colleagues as they did when they were in the office full-time. This result might surprise some leaders, but we need to remember that today's technology is enabling real-time communication, project collaboration, and even social interactions that bridge the physical distance. Platforms like Slack, Microsoft Teams, and Zoom allow people to connect from anywhere, creating a strong, cohesive work community. Remote work also can foster a culture of trust and accountability, two core elements of a healthy company culture. When employees work remotely, it becomes less about punching the clock and more about delivering results. According to the Harvard Business Review, this shift builds a culture where employees feel trusted and empowered. Employees who feel trusted are more engaged, committed, and loyal to their organizations. It's also crucial to consider mental health and well-being. Remote work gives people the flexibility to manage their personal and professional lives more effectively. A survey by Buffer found that 97% of remote workers want to continue working remotely at least some of the time. For the reason? Remote work reduces stress, enhances work-life balance, and reduces burnout. When companies care about their employees' well-being, it strengthens the culture by showing that they prioritize human-centered leadership. So what about the idea that office environments are essential for innovation? Some leaders worry that without physical spaces for spontaneous conversations, innovation will suffer. But studies like the one from the University of Texas show that remote workers have been just as effective in generating new ideas and problem solving. In fact, structured online meetings often lead to more focused brainstorming sessions, while asynchronous communication gives people the time to reflect and contribute thoughtfully. In today's world, flexibility and adaptability are fundamental to attracting and retaining top talent. A 2022 report by Gallup found that 60% of employees prefer hybrid or fully remote work, and this number is even higher among millennials and Gen Z, who are the future leaders and innovators of our workforce. Companies that enforce strict in-office mandates risk losing skilled talent to competitors who offer more flexible options. Remote work isn't just a perk, it's become a standard expectation for many, and it's a powerful draw for top talent. Fostering a cohesive and productive company culture doesn't have to be about physical proximity. It's about creating a shared sense of purpose, trust, and connection. Remote work, backed by research and real-world results, has proven its capacity to create a thriving, connected, and engaged workforce. Embracing remote work isn't a retreat from culture. It's a step forward into a modern, flexible, and people-centered approach to work. So as remote work continues to prove its value, why do so many traditional, old-school leaders find it hard to embrace? Let's dive into some of the common beliefs and concerns that hold these leaders back from fully supporting a remote or hybrid workforce. For decades, the corporate work world measured productivity by time at the desk, the classic 9 to 5, where visibility was a proxy for hard work. This system worked well in an era when work was physical or required face-to-face interaction. But today, many jobs involve digital tasks, complex problem solving, and a level of focus that isn't tied to a specific location. Old school leaders, however, may find it hard to let go of this out of sight, out of mind mentality. They worry that if they can't physically see their teams, productivity will fall, which is a fear not supported by the data. Another factor at play is control. Leaders who built their careers in traditional office settings often believe that presence equals accountability. When they see people at their desks, they feel a sense of control over projects and outcomes. But remote work challenges this by shifting control from who's where to who's delivering results. For some leaders, this new approach can feel uncomfortable because it requires trust and empowerment rather than oversight. And then there's the concern about culture. Old school leaders may believe that strong company culture is built only through face-to-face interactions, spontaneous chats in the hallway, team lunches, and after-hours gatherings. While these experiences are valuable, remote and hybrid work has shown that culture can also thrive in virtual settings. Leaders who have always relied on physical presence for relationship building might struggle to see how connection and engagement can happen through screens. But as the Microsoft Work Trend Index points out, many remote employees feel as connected to their colleagues as they did in person, thanks to intentional communication and digital collaboration tools. But let's not forget that change is hard. For leaders who spent their entire careers in traditional office spaces, remote work isn't just a shift in logistics, it's a shift in mindset. They've honed their leadership skills in environments where they could walk by someone's desk, join a meeting in a conference room, or hold team events in person. Remote work asks these leaders to redefine how they manage, connect, and motivate, and for some, that's a daunting transition. It's also worth noting that risk aversion can play a part. Many traditional leaders are cautious about embracing change if it feels experimental or untested. To them, remote work feels like a step away from proven familiar methods. But as we've seen, studies and global data show that remote work isn't an experiment anymore. It's a proven model with clear benefits. In short, many old school leaders resist remote work because it challenges long-standing beliefs about productivity, control, and culture. But the evidence shows that remote work, when done intentionally, can bring out the best in people and organizations. By understanding and addressing these concerns, leaders can adapt to today's flexible work environment, paving the way for a future where work is defined by impact, not just location. So, if you're a business leader still not sold that the benefits of remote work far outweigh the limitations in many circumstances, not all, of course, but when physical human presence is not fundamentally necessary to get the work done, maybe I can share a few practical real-world examples that can help you see things a bit differently. Matt Mullenweg, the CEO of Automatic, the parent company of WordPress, has been a vocal advocate for fully remote work since the company's founding. They operate with a distributed workforce across 70 countries, demonstrating the power and scalability of remote work. Mullenweg has even coined the term distributed work to emphasize that work should happen where it makes the most sense rather than being limited to an office. His company's success has proven that a global remote team can collaborate effectively and innovate, building one of the world's largest online publishing platforms. Jason Fried, co-founder and CEO of Basecamp, has been championing remote work for years. Basecamp has been fully remote long before it became mainstream, and Fried has co-authored the book Remote, Office Not Required, which outlines the benefits and best practices of remote work. Fried's perspective is that remote work not only enhances productivity, but also allows people to structure their work in a way that aligns with their lives. Basecamp's success as a project management tool and company culture icon shows that businesses can thrive without a physical office. Christina Cacioppo, CEO of Vanta, a rapidly growing cybersecurity company, has embraced a remote-first model since Vanta's inception. Cacioppo believes that remote work enables her to access talent across the globe, especially in the competitive tech industry, where talent mobility is essential. Vanta's success in securing major clients and expanding its reach across industries demonstrates how remote work can support rapid growth and attract top-tier talent. Zapier, the popular automation tool, was fully remote from day one. Co-founders Wade Foster and Mike Noob built Zapier as a company with a global team and no central office. Foster has been open about the many advantages of remote work, such as creating a diverse team from different backgrounds, countries, and cultures. Zapier's success highlights how a fully remote company can support productivity, team cohesion, and growth, proving that a centralized office isn't necessary for company success. While Airbnb originally operated in a traditional office setup, CEO Brian Chesky recently announced that the company would be embracing remote work indefinitely. Chesky believes that remote work allows Airbnb to connect with a broader range of talent and to lean into the company's mission of belonging anywhere. Airbnb's transition to a remote-first culture aligns with its brand and has helped them attract top-tier talent, supporting recent growth and innovation in the travel and accommodation industry. Each of these leaders in their own way is proving that remote work is not just viable, but advantageous for growth, innovation, and creating resilient company cultures. Their company's success stories showcase how remote work can effectively integrate into a high-performance, high-growth environment, paving the way for more organizations to follow suit. However, deploying a remote workforce successfully requires so much more than just having people stay at home and providing them with some new collaboration software. My day job is working with a team of researchers, developers, and instructional designers to create leadership development programs for the modern work environment. And we spent 2 years studying remote and hybrid work environments before we launched a program for remote leaders and another for remote individual contributors. And from that work, let me share with you just a few of the important things that we learned for remote leaders to take into account. Number one, of course, it's always important to set clear expectations and goals for your team. But in a remote environment, leaders need to be especially focused on establishing clear, measurable goals and expectations for performance and outcomes. By focusing on results and impact rather than hours worked, leaders empower employees to manage their time effectively. Fostering open and transparent communication is obviously important in any work environment, whether remote or in office. But particularly in remote environments, communication is essential. Leaders should encourage frequent, transparent communication through multiple channels, email, chat, video, and establish regular check-ins to ensure alignment, provide support, and keep everyone connected to the team's goals. Building a strong culture, again, always important, whether in office or remote. But in a remote environment, creating a culture of trust, collaboration, and inclusion is job one for a leader. Leaders should encourage team members to share updates, celebrate wins, and recognize each other's efforts. Establishing rituals like virtual coffee chats, team bonding activities, and recognition moments can maintain and strengthen team cohesion. Remote leadership requires trusting employees to manage their work. Remote leaders should focus on outcomes and give team members the autonomy to complete tasks in the way that works best for them, avoiding micromanagement and fostering accountability. And obviously, it's important to adopt the right technology tools for communication, project management, and collaboration. Tools like Teams, Slack, Zoom, and Asana streamline remote work and help teams stay connected. Leaders should ensure their teams are well-equipped, trained, and fully comfortable with the entire remote technology stack. Because of the flexibility of remote workers are often willing to work expanded hours. However, this can blur the line between work and personal life. Remote leaders should encourage taking regular breaks, flexible schedules, and respect time zones to avoid burnout. Emphasizing well-being initiatives and promoting a culture that respects boundaries helps to sustain productivity and morale. In remote settings, regular feedback and coaching are both critical. Leaders should offer constructive feedback frequently and support continuous learning through professional development opportunities. This commitment to growth shows team members that they're valued. Remote work is not one size fits all. Effective leaders tailor their approach based on each team member's preferences, strengths, and working styles. Understanding how individuals work best and accommodating those needs helps them thrive. And by setting an example of flexibility and adaptability, leaders show their teams that they support a work environment based on trust. Leaders who model flexibility in location, hours, or methods empower their teams to stay productive in ways that suit them best. And finally, remote leaders should make an extra effort to ensure everyone feels included, especially across time zones or regions. Encourage team members to participate, invite diverse perspectives, and celebrate cultural and individual differences to create an inclusive and cohesive team dynamic. Now, as I said, this is a lot of work. It's a lot of new intentional work for leaders, but by incorporating these practices, it helps remote leaders build trust, drive engagement, foster a resilient, connected, and high-performing remote team. And while I can understand why a leader might prefer the old way of wandering the office, wandering the hallways, seeing and hearing all of the work happening around them, checking in with people, I can understand why that's enticing for a leader and feels easier for a leader. Because in many ways, in-office leadership is easier than remote leadership. But I'm going to ask, if you are a leader, to step back for a moment and ask yourself, not what's easier for you, not what's more natural for you, not what's more instinctive for you, but in the end, what is best for your employees, what is best for your customers, what is best long-term strategically for your business. Now, for remote individual contributors, it is important to recognize that optimizing your remote work also requires a set of skills and sometimes new work habits. Let me share with you from our research some of the essential work habits and practices for remote workers. Number one, it's critical that you establish a structured routine. One of the benefits of remote work, of course, is the flexibility, but creating a daily routine provides structure and helps signal the start and end of the workday. Setting consistent work hours, including breaks, keeps energy and focus high. A structured routine also helps balance your work and personal life, reducing the risk of burnout. Number two, design a dedicated workspace. Have a designated workspace separate from personal spaces. It reinforces focus and reduces distractions. This doesn't need to be an elaborate setup, but should be comfortable, ergonomic, and equipped with all necessary tools. A well-organized workspace supports both your mental clarity and productivity. Number three, set daily and weekly goals. Start each day and week with specific, prioritized goals. Breaking down large projects into manageable tasks helps track progress and maintain momentum. Many remote workers use tools like Trello, Asana, or Notion to keep their tasks organized and ensure they stay aligned with team objectives. Number four, practice effective time management. Time management techniques like the Pomodoro technique, which is a cadence of 25 to 30 minutes of focused work followed by 5 to 10 minutes of break time, then another 25 to 30 minutes of focused work, etc. This can boost your concentration. Additionally, reserving blocks of time for deep work and scheduling meetings in specific time windows can help maintain productivity without constant interruptions. Number five, stay connected and communicate proactively. Remote work can feel isolating, so maintaining regular communication with team members and supervisors is essential. Use chat tools, video calls, and status updates to stay visible and informed. Proactive communication keeps others updated on progress, and it shows accountability, which again is critical if you're going to continue to earn the flexibility of a remote work environment. Number six, develop self-discipline and accountability. Remote work requires a high level of self-motivation and discipline. Stick to deadlines and hold yourself accountable by regularly assessing your progress against goals. Tools like a daily checklist or habit trackers can help reinforce accountability. Your remote colleagues have to be able to count on you. They have to be able to depend upon you when you make a commitment to particular deliverables. Number seven, prioritize your well-being and take breaks. Breaks are essential for sustained productivity. The remote workflow is going to keep coming at you almost like an open fire hose. You're going to have to make the determinations when that fire hose gets shut down. Step away from the screen during lunch, stretch between tasks, and make time for movement. Remote workers should be intentional about taking breaks to recharge, which is proven to improve focus and reduce stress. And number eight, seek regular feedback and development opportunities. Stay engaged in personal growth by seeking feedback regularly and looking for learning opportunities. Regular check-ins with a manager or peer reviews can provide insights for you into areas for improvement and show your commitment to continuous development. Now, assuming you've employed all of, or at least most of, these practices, I have just 3 more tips to help ensure accountability for yourself and others. And remember, one of many leaders' greatest concerns about remote work environments is the lack of accountability. And so, by you holding yourself accountable, by you practicing self-leadership and strong personal accountability principles, you'll help to create comfort within leaders, which will again help you continue to earn the flexibility of a remote work environment. Number one, document and track your progress. Use project management tools to document your tasks and share progress updates. This transparency helps keep you accountable to your team and allows others to see your contributions. Number two, adopt a consistent reporting system. Whether through regular email updates, a shared tracking document, or stand-up meetings, reporting progress consistently reinforces accountability. Summarize your completed tasks, challenges faced, and upcoming priorities, demonstrating responsibility and visibility to the team. And number three, engage in peer-to-peer accountability. Remote workers can partner with their colleagues to establish accountability checkpoints, like quick sync-ups and feedback loops. Peer-to-peer accountability encourages everyone to stay motivated and on task, helping build trust and interdependence within the team. So, by mastering these practices, remote individual contributors can thrive in a virtual environment, enhance productivity, ensure both personal and team accountability, and continue to earn the opportunity to work in a flexible remote environment. If you watch or listen to this podcast frequently, you know I'm fond of saying that the optimal model for great leadership is evolving. I speak to leaders and leadership development professionals throughout the world, podcast guests every week, plus lots of one-on-one conversations with leaders in business, government, military, nonprofits, and increasingly in the past few years, these conversations have focused on the changes occurring in our world that impact what people expect from leaders, what people and organizations need from leaders. Remote hybrid work is just one of these disruptions, but it's an important one. If you are a business leader today and into the future, it is critically important that you get this one right. So I will take a breath, step off of my remote work soapbox for a moment. I hope I've given you some useful food for thought in this area. And if so, don't forget to like and subscribe on whatever platform you're watching or listening to. I'm Dan Rust, and this is Leadership Disrupted.